Okay, we're live. So third time's a charm, Justine, because I think this is working today. So super excited about it.
Well, I think you've changed platforms.
Yeah.
So maybe, sometimes we just don't get along with certain platforms.
Yep. So I'm going to do a shout out to StreamYard is what we're using now. So I definitely want to say kudos. And so hopefully people will be hopping on soon. And for those that are just joining, if you can just leave a comment that you can hear us, that you joined us, and maybe where you're listening from and watching from. And there's our alarm to start. So Justine, today we're just going to talk about kind of refocusing, right? Because man, we're in like week 8 for us in LA.
Wow.
Of self-quarantine. And for some of us, it's relatively mild adjustment. Maybe if you're used to working from home. But for some people, I mean, a lot of people, it could be the most trying time, right, of their life. Because this is nothing anybody could have predicted or even thought of, right? So what I want to share today, and love some of your feedback if anyone wants to comment how maybe what they do to refocus, but 3 really simple techniques. And they might be so simple you think, oh, I've heard this before, but they're powerful. So I want to go through the 3 and hopefully they help you just to refocus during this time. So the first one is take out a piece of paper, have something to write with, and take the categories in your life that are really key categories. So you might have relationship, you might have career, finance, personal, you might just want to call it. And under each category, just start dreaming of what you want. And you might have 1 or 2 things under each category. You might have 20 things, but just start dreaming and writing. Now you might find yourself going, oh, but I can't really do that. I won't write that down. No, just take off the house, take off all the limitations and just dream, use your imagination and just start writing. Because we really want to refocus, right? So our mind is like a GPS. So Justine, if you're coming to LA from Chicago and you're going to drive, you have to put in your GPS, the right coordinates, so that you know how to get here, right? So your mind works the same way. You have to think and vision and focus on where you want to go. Because if you didn't put something in your GPS, you could end up in Michigan, you could end up in Florida, you're not targeted. So what I really want you to do is just write, dream, have this list. And then go back and circle maybe 2 or 3 main things that you want, not that you should have, not that you could have, but that you want, and go back and circle them. And you really want to start thinking like, what do I want my life to be like a year from now? Like if a year from now, everything I wanted happened, what would my life look like? So you're really trying to build this picture, this list of where you want to go, what you really want to do. And then I want you to take those 2 or 3 things and write them down on another piece of paper. And I'm going to maybe suggest that you write these every day in the present tense, right? So if you say, I really want better relationships within my home, or I really want my finances, whatever your goal is there. Maybe the career is you want to start your own business, or you want a certain position in your company. Maybe some things happened during this quarantine. You want to kind of get back on track. So write those things down in the present tense as if how you want it to be is happening now. So I'm so happy and grateful now that. So it really gets you focused on the now and gives you some direction, right? And then the third thing is, let's say you're feeling, you really are kind of not loving the position you're in. And I mean in life. Maybe that could be career, could be relationships. Is take a piece of paper, draw a line right down the middle, and on the left-hand side, acknowledge what's going on in your lives, in all its glory. Just write down what it is. Now, what you want is usually the direct opposite of that. So on the right-hand side, write down the opposite. So let's say money, you're challenged right now with money. There's more month than money. On the right-hand side, you would say, oh, I'm so happy and grateful. Money flows easily to me. Be specific with an income per month or per year that you want. So after you have this written, you take the side on the left hand of all the stuff that's going on that you're not digging and burn it. Rip it up. Do something. Now, this is strictly symbolic, but you want to focus on what you want. You want to focus on the things that you desire, because that's the way our mind works. It needs to have a target to focus and go to. And if you want a really incredible book, some good resources just to learn more about this is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Have you read that, Justine?
No.
Yeah. So really powerful as far as understanding self-image, which is all part of this. That's a whole nother talk. But so some of these techniques, they're gentle, but they're really getting us focused as we're hearing this talk of possibly reopening soon. Hopefully in the next 30 days, they start phasing in some ways that we're going to be adjusting back to whatever the new normal is, and really get you thinking, what do you want, and focusing in that direction.
So that's, it's really interesting listening to you describe that process. And it's certainly a process that I have undertaken many times. I'd say in the past, probably 3 decades, have I done this type of work, affirmation work. And in some cases, I would probably describe it as, in a way, you're organizing your thoughts so that you can actually weed through those things that are giving you the greatest anxiety. And I have found through the past number of weeks that with the quiet time that I've had in between other obligations or activities that I'm doing, I have really gone back into meditating.
Yes.
And I think that as I listen to you, it's very complimentary. And there's a particular person that I have been practicing with, virtually. And that person's name is David G. And the G is J-I.
Yes.
And there's a wonderful book that actually we can do a live look. I'm going to walk towards where I have the book. So we're now in motion.
Okay. Good. I love it.
I have this book here called Sacred Powers, but I think it's important to actually, just show it, because this book, I think, is the next step to what you're describing, which is if you can articulate your thoughts in the way you've described. And I love the idea of the folding over of the paper and then burning it or getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Because, although you called it symbolic, I do believe, and I think meditation really leads you into this moment. And whether at your office or, in some yoga class you've been in or whatever, you've had some minor exposure to meditation. It's important, I think, to complement and start with the process that you've shared, which allows you to put out what's going on. Like you said, you first have to have a destination, then you have to have the GPS, then you have to actually map it out and think through your mind, how am I getting there?
Right.
And I have found that honestly in the past, I'm committed to a particular practice for the next 10 days. And it's been extremely powerful. It's been very relaxing and reassuring. And I think it's helped me to figure out some of the things that, as you've said, needed to be better articulated. So could I ask you, if you're doing this and you're putting down some of these thoughts, what if right now you are just unable to even put pen to paper because you really don't know? You're worried about what's going to happen and you don't know. I mean, you and I were talking about, you have a wedding coming up in your family.
I do.
Right? And so,
November.
yeah, in November. And so you start to wonder, will this wedding go the way we've planned?
Yeah.
And will we be able to still do the things in the same way we plan? And that uncertainty that I think exists in the fact that we don't know how we will re-enter. We don't know when we will re-enter. We're watching some states open up and we're unsure of how that's going to go for them. And obviously, for me, I wish them all absolute full success. There's, zero positive energy created if this doesn't work for those states that have assessed their risk and said, here's how we would like to approach it. So if you're in a state right now, or if you're in Canada, how do you approach getting the pen to the paper when there's so many unknowns around you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because that's exactly where we're at, right? So I would say, there's so many unknowns, but there's one thing that we can control. And there's really only one thing, and that's our thoughts and our feelings. So a lot of this is turning off the noise and the news, I would say, and giving yourself some time. Like you're talking about meditation. That's just like the best way to really calm yourself, get focused. And I do think that if you do some of those practices, I've meditated for as short as 5 to 10 minutes, even sat there and taken some deep breaths and really felt centered, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a long meditation practice. Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. Somebody asked me the other day, when you're meditating, how long are you meditating for? And I said, oh gosh, like 5 to 15 minutes. It's certainly not. And I used to actually, on flights, I would actually play this soundtrack by Marconi Union, which was designed in a way by musicians with, I believe, psychotherapists to reduce anxiety. And Marconi Union, the minute I would get on the plane, I'd put my AirPods in, and that would just allow me to sort of unwind things and just get myself in a place where I was prepared for whatever it is that I was going to do that day.
Right.
And sometimes I would listen to the entire track, which was maybe, 25 minutes, but even sometimes just 5 minutes, 2 minutes. It's a pause. And interestingly, when you were talking about the news, I can watch the news up to a certain point, like most people, and then it can be overwhelming. You have to sort of put your guard up so that you're not just taking in all this scary stuff. Yeah. But I found that actually I have a Peloton, and I will get on the Peloton sometimes, turn on the news, and I'll ride the Peloton for a period of time and watch the news. And I find that activity, coupled with taking in that information, helps me to balance. Because I'm not just sitting there, staring at the news. And in some ways, maybe the meditative approach that you're talking about and the sort of rhythmic writing of affirmations and what you want is something you could do if you need to while listening to music, while you have the TV on. If you're too nervous to sit in the silence with a blank piece of paper.
Oh, right.
Do you feel like that would work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would even recommend, because your thoughts are going to come no matter what. In your mind, our minds are habitual. So if you're used to kind of going to the negative, oh, what if this doesn't work? Your mind will just do that unless you take your power back and you flip that. It's just, you have to do that because your mind will just automatically go somewhere. So I do advise maybe take a little bit of time, put some high vibration music. You can even get on YouTube and put in the search bar high vibration music, or maybe some music that makes you feel relaxed or good, and play that. Maybe you light a candle. It's whatever you need to do to give yourself a little bit of focus. And I promise you, your mind will start going, oh, whatever you're thinking, just write it down. If it's positive, then great, take it to the bank. If it's like a lot of stuff that's coming up that you're like, I'm not enjoying this right now, write it down, knowing the opposite of that is what you want, and that's what you need to focus on. But I think a lot of this is getting your power back of you just saying, you know what, I'm going to set myself on a path to help myself and my family. Because the thing is, this isn't just about us, right? We have children, we have family, we have friends. And it's kind of like putting that oxygen mask on in the airplane. Put yours on first and then you can help others. Well, I think that's true with our mindset and, you know, how our conversations are with people. Do we find ourselves tending to go about all the bad things, or are we kind of looking at what could happen that's good? To your point, my daughter's wedding and, you know, the beauty of that, and keep that in focus. So, but I do think sometimes we just need to take a pause in that meditation and listening to music and taking a walk. Maybe record what you're thinking instead of writing it.
Yeah,
You know?
I think it's a very, you know, it's a beginning meditation practice, or beginning to start to write down affirmations is very intimidating in the beginning, because certainly there is a point where I think you feel overwhelmed by, why do I feel this way? And as you said, going to some of the negativity. I know that for me, although I'm a very positive person, I can also be very quick to jump to, well, that's not going to work out because it didn't work out one other time, or it didn't work out before, or maybe, and those are those like blockages that right now, for me, exercising, I'm working out in my house a lot. And to the point where, I mean, some people are saying, why are you working out so much? And I feel better, right? Mentally, I feel better. Planting some flowers and watching them grow and tending to them has also been great, because I live right in the heart of the West Loop in Chicago, and there's not a lot of nature at the Circle, right? A lot of freeways. So planting those flowers on my terrace, like I had the flowers delivered, I plant them and I water them, and it's been pouring rain. And I was like, you know what? I'm grateful for the rain, because now these plants, I don't have to be out there watering them. They're going to get enough water, because maybe I'm not giving them enough water. I'm enjoying the things that I have access to. Mm-hmm. And I know that I probably started the most affirmation and journaling many years ago, after some really difficult things happened to me in my life. And it was very difficult at first to be able to write down what I wanted, because I was afraid I would never get it.
Right.
And so that is something I'm curious to know, when you work with people, how do you help somebody get over the, like, you know, maybe I've met a person that I think I could really enjoy my life with, but I'm really worried that I'll never have that in my life for the following reasons. How does somebody get past that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do want to, before I answer that though, you know, my journey into the personal development world and just discovering all of who I am, and really started when I was going through a lot of things in my life that weren't so pleasant. So maybe that's, you know, a starting point for so many people, excuse me, that you just start longing for something new or different or better, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, gosh, and right now is such a time, I do feel it's a reset for people all around the world. I mean, this is not just United States. You just keep thinking like, wow, this is everyone in the world is going through this at the same time. So it's really, again, to your question, you know, if people think they really can't have it, that's a lot of limiting beliefs that they have stored. And that's a whole nother, it's a process, but it's, again, one of dropping those beliefs and turning those limited beliefs into empowering beliefs and knowing you can have it, and that you will have it if we direct the power of our energy and our thoughts in that direction. But you do have to believe you can have it, because you're gonna, energy goes where focus is. So if you look for the bad in a situation, you will find the bad in the situation. People that they're always looking for the good and they're mostly positive, good things just happen to them. Well, that's not by accident. That's by design of how we are and how energy works. And so it's a lot of limiting beliefs that we carry around, and we all do. It doesn't matter how long we've worked on ourselves or not. It's just, I think of it like layers of an onion. Like it just keeps going and going and going, right? And then something new comes up, and we have to learn from that experience as well. But
I have my go-to music when I really want to remind myself that my mind is my worst enemy or my best friend. Mm-hmm. And the one song that I have always found is the most impactful to me in that way is Redemption Song by Bob Marley. And there's a line in that song, free ourselves from mental slavery, only ourselves can free our minds.
Yeah.
And there's something to that, because we do lock ourselves into thoughts that repeat. And if you keep repeating those things, then I guess you're doing what you were talking about, which is you're affirming that. And I loved it. I read this quote one time, and I have it actually as my icon on the Peloton. And it says, worrying is meditating on what you don't want.
Yep.
Right? Worrying is meditating on what you don't want. And that to me was it made me laugh so hard when I read it, because that's exactly what I think your recommendation allows for, is dump that stuff that's causing you to meditate on what you don't want. Just get rid of it. Write it down, talk to somebody about it, say it into your phone, talk to yourself in the house, whatever it is, let it out. Because if you keep it in, you're spinning it, right?
Yeah, you got to disrupt the loop, because it's just an attraction. The more you think about it is the more you think about it, and the bigger the problem gets. And, we've all done this, right? Something little happens, and then you go, oh my God, what if this happens? And then within 10 minutes, the whole thing has gotten blown out of proportion. You're thinking the world's going to end, and then it wasn't any big deal. I mean, that happens to all of us.
Yeah, everybody.
Sure.
And every little thing, because for me right now, there's so much talk about all these very, big, enlightening kind of things. And for some people right now, that feels right.
Yeah.
But for some people, that's way too much, right? They just want to feel happy and secure in whatever routine it is they're having. They have little kids at home. They have other issues going on in their lives. They have loved ones that they can't see that might not be well, or they feel that they wish they could assist. And so I also think your suggestion of a level of journaling, just writing down like, boy, I really wish I could go see my grandmother. I mean, my grandmother is in a long-term care facility. Her memory is not good. So she doesn't really realize what's going on, which is probably a blessing in disguise, but no one can go see her. Yeah. And so the long-term care facility called my uncle to say, hey, don't worry, she's strong, she's doing well, she's okay. And I think that was a big relief to everyone. But, that would be something that I would note down of, I'd like to see my grandmother again. I'd like to be able to walk eventually with no mask. I'd like to, see friends and appreciate the fact that I never imagined I wouldn't be able to see them when I wanted to.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that for me, I've just realized, wow, you know what? I didn't really know that I liked that so much. I didn't really know that mattered to me as much as I now know it does.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of wrap this up, is taking that and turning it into gratitude. I mean, we hear be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. But when you are really practicing gratitude, I think what's happening now, when we do go out and I do get to hug you, a friend, go out, have dinner, a drink, whatever, it's going to feel so good
Yeah.
And I'm going to be so appreciative of that. So I think just keep coming back to, we want to feel good, right? So the bottom line is, how do we feel good in our energy? How do we align ourselves? And when you think good thoughts that align with what you want and who you are, you will feel better. So I just encourage everyone to put those thoughts down that are going to get your mind thinking of things you want. Think of things like you cannot wait till those really great things happen in our lives, so we can be grateful for that. And I think just thinking those thoughts, we feel better, right? We're attracting to those better feeling thoughts.
I am grateful for the conversations we've been having. I'm so glad that we reconnected, and I'm now hugging you.
Virtual hug.
Can you feel it?
I feel it. I feel it. All right. Well, I'm glad this worked live. I'm glad that people were able to join and hear us. And I just wish everyone just a safe and positive and great day and week. And we'll be back again soon.
All right. Sunshine and happiness. Have a great day. Be in love with your life.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.